Welcome to another look at a amazing full moon coming up in July of 2025. I am so happy to be here with Erik to share our insights and wisdom around that. We both each carry a bit of Capricorn ourselves, so we might know what we're talking about. I hope.
We
Anyway,
do.
yeah, and it is a out of bounds Capricorn full moon. So it's outside the boundaries of what we consider, and Capricorn being very rural and oriented, we're outside the boundaries of that. So we're going to look at that more as we go along. And it is the elder wisdom full moon. And so the healthy Capricorn essence. So we're looking at the essence of this archetypal energy. And of course, there's the light and shadow, and there are the challenging parts, and we'll look at some of that too. But when Capricorn is healthy, it's wisely effective and efficient and sustainable. So the things that it's doing last over time. It serves the generations to come. It honors the generations that have come before it. And it's about sustainable new structures for this new time in ways that work for everyone. So we could say the old structures, this is how I feel anyway, personally, don't really work for everyone. They work for an elite few, and we need to move beyond that. And so they are the wisdom keepers, the leaders, the teachers, the counselors who share their knowledge in ways that support what works for the greater good and the future generations, and letting go of what doesn't work, no longer works, or is no longer sustainable. And it might have worked. I don't know. So I don't really know, but somehow they got instituted these rules, these structures, ways of being. So I'd like to think that some of them were just part of a dominator construct, so that how to control people, and we're needing to move past that. And that is not the essence of Capricorn. So when we're applying the wisdom gained from the past to create a new operating manual that works for everyone, including the planet and not just an elite few, that is the opportunity that we have in seeing this come to greater fruition in this full moon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the healthy Capricorn essence. It can be, can be lacking in many different governments around the world, for example, and different economic systems and different, even health systems, education systems. So this is something that at this time, and we're living in the moon, this full moon is representative of a reflection of that and something that can help us connect into that energy for ourselves and look at our landscape and decide what are we going to do next? What are we going to think about next and create a better system or healthy system in our lives?
Because that's Capricorn's favorite thing, wants it to work so well that we don't have to work so hard.
Yes. Yes.
It's so efficient, it can run itself.
That's right. That's right. All right. So, and speaking of Capricorn and responsibilities and systems and structures, we could take on a lot of burdens in our life. So Capricorn is one of the more challenging archetypes to navigate when it comes to burdens and guilt. Now, it doesn't mean that no other signs have guilt or burdens. It's not a commentary on that. It's more like Capricorn has this like innately within itself. It really wants to contribute a lot, and as Cayelin was sharing, it wants to do it effectively. But sometimes it could take on the burden because it's something for it to do and it needs to be done because it's been done this way the whole time. And so we can take that on for ourselves and create this narrative, this story. And so whether it's a physical burden of material stuff or the psychological burden of knowledge and responsibility, or a combination of both, Capricorn often bears that burden without a second thought. The shadow side of this is that Capricorn can take on everything and onto its shoulders and feel guilty if it doesn't do enough or is efficient or doesn't do it on time, for example.
Probably should be
So that
in.
can also, what was that?
It doesn't, it could feel guilty if it doesn't do it enough or is insufficient. At,
Insufficient. Yes, thank you. That was
yeah,
what I was meant to say. So
yeah.
I appreciate that, Cayelin.
I knew that was it.
Um, yes. So this could be similar to Sisyphus stuck in a pattern with no end to how long or how painful or how tiring it is to keep pushing the boulder up the hill. Why are we doing that? It hasn't lost its purpose when initially there was a purpose, and now there's no purpose at all. Now it's just like going through the motions, essentially. So it's trying to break that pattern. And as the example of the picture would be, I would try to just dive out of the way of the boulder, and or if I can just back down enough to where the boulder won't hit anything on the way, then I'll try to do that instead. But if it's my life, I just need to jump out of the way, let the boulder go where it needs to go. Um, but so those Capricorn type responsibilities and obligations are both laborious and futile. And I'm talking about the ones where you're stuck in an old toxic pattern of bearing that weight, as I like to sometimes describe to my clients, and carrying around that 50-pound backpack. Why are you doing that? What's the point of that? You have to just, yeah, and you even can sometimes walk around as if you, like your face and your body is literally carrying that weight. When it's like, wait, you don't have to keep doing that anymore. You've done your time around that. It's time to relook at everything and see what you want to put on your altar for your future. Um, so at this full moon, we could check to see where we can let go of the obligations and guilt in a responsible way and freeing ourselves from any unnecessary burdens.
I love this so much. It's like, how do we let go of the things that, and oftentimes the things that we have been doing habitually, as you're referring to, are not necessary. It's just how we got conditioned. And so, and we continue to carry those burdens. And I love the idea of jumping out of the way of the, of the boulder.
Yes,
Once Sisyphus gets it to the top of the hill, it rolls back down every time. And it's like, maybe I should just let it be at the bottom of the hill. Maybe
that's
this boulder
right.
doesn't need to be at the top of the hill. Maybe it's something completely different. Maybe I need to look at this in a new way. And Capricorn's very good at being able to suss out what is the best structure that's going to be the most effective and efficient to get the best results with the least amount of effort. So
There
that's
you
what we want
go.
to put our attention on.
It's kind of in a way, a lot of one of the laws of nature is the conservation of energy. And, you know, there's a reason why it does this so that things can actually that you can accomplish things and work on things and set aside energy for other activities, other things that are more nourishing to the soul and to not just yours, but also those around you too, your community, your family, and friends.
Yeah, beautifully said.
And then self-worth is another thing that naturally accompanies this. This is something that, uh, I can't speak for you, Cayelin, but for me, with a strong Saturn complex on my chart and a Capricorn rising, especially early in life, as a teenager into my 20s, that was really difficult for me. Being able to value who I am and my gifts and my talents, my skills. So it's illuminates this full moon illuminates the wisdom of healthy self-worth. This is a time where we can see the connections between the material and psychological burdens we bear and the potential lack of self-worth there. Self-worth is based on valuing ourselves and valuing our gifts, talents, and well-being. If we're always sacrificing ourselves to please others without regard to what and who we are as an individual, then we don't value ourselves all that much. However, if we do value ourselves and what we are capable of, then we can balance that responsibility to self along with the responsibilities that we have toward others, including community and our maybe a business that we're working for or that a business that we own. Um, Self-worth is a component of self-love, and valuing self leads to being valued by those around us in the family, community, and the world.
So healthy Capricorn is all about this, and we have lived in a culture that has been very judgmental and dominating and controlling, and if we don't have healthy self-worth, we're easier to control. So this is what how we want to take back the Capricorn mysteries to really cultivate that sense of self-worth. I love that you're bringing this up. It's so good. It's really what we need to do now. Um, because it's like if we never feel like we're enough, not good enough, not doing enough, not smart enough, not whatever enough, uh then will we ever get to just be okay with how things are and how we're showing up and being in the world? This is, yeah, I love this. And
Yes.
self-love being is if we can't love ourselves, then how can we really love anybody else?
Yeah. Well said there. Thank you. Um, okay. Here we go. Yeah, now let's transition to the sky and the stars here, Caitlin.
So this is just showing you the constellations, you know, how they are across the sky, where the December solstice sun rises on the galactic cross near the galactic center. It can only do this every 26,000 years. We've talked about this in past videos, but where this July full moon is taking place is in the constellation of the Archer. So it's in the sign of Capricorn, almost 19 degrees Capricorn, but it's in the constellation of the Archer. We'll see more about this as we go. And within 21 hours after the exact full moon, it's going to be with Pluto. So as you can see, it's moving towards Pluto. Yeah, beautiful. Towards Pluto and the goatfish or the sea goat or whatever we want to call that. And so,
Both are just as accurate.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. So we're yeah, just to get a sense that if we think of the archer as uh, pointing towards the center of the galaxy, what so that you know, so this full moon rising up in this constellation is helping us to recognize that. So it means that we'll have just crossed the galactic center. We
Mhm.
talked about this in the last video on the Sagittarius full moon of the
That's right.
galactic current sheet and all of that. So you know it will have just been transmitting energy from that part of the sky. So good. So
Mm.
this is that. So it's taking all that energy and illuminating what's possible at the full moon.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Because that's I have a couple of we have a couple of slides about the Archer, and I'll talk about that. But it's really fascinating to see this is all coming through here in the time of an age of our time right now, and seeing these transition here. It's these are the moon is a marker for us to pay attention to these movements here within not just in the world, but within our own life, and that humanity is in this massive transition. And so the full moon is helping us understand that transition, helping us understand a new story that wants to be created by humanity and the
Oh,
earth.
so good. It's also transmitting from that part of the sky. So it's a transmitter as well. So I love that.
Ah, yeah, absolutely. Well said. Yeah, Pluto will reach the sea goat around 2028. That's a whole different video we could do, but that's going to be a big deal as it moves into that direction there.
Yeah.
All right, so out of bounds, Caitlin, take it away.
Well, we've talked about this before because the last full moon was also out of bounds. It was even more out of bounds than this one's going to be. But the idea here, and you can see there's where the sun rises and sets on the horizon. So at the equinoxes, it's exactly due east and due west. And at the solstices, it's either furthest north or furthest south. And this is the full moon where it's going outside the boundaries of where the sun can be south on the the southern part of the horizon. So the sun is tracking high north in this time of year, and the moon is an opposite of the sun, so it's tracking low across the sky. So it's not in the sky as quite as long, and so it's just this opportunity also when it's out of bounds, again to disrupt the normal essence of what these energies have been, so we can do something new and different.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's if out there, and I'll have another a slide have a slide about looking at the moon, but it also depends on where you live and your perspective there. So particularly the latitude that you find yourself in at the time of the full moon. But This is it's remarkable. Although with a full moon, it's going to be hard to see some of the stars around that
Yeah.
full moon. So you want to wait maybe another day or two after, and then you'll be able to see those stars a little more effectively.
Yeah. So something else is this is just looking at the so the sun and moon are always opposite at a full moon. So this is where the sun is currently. We just had the June solstice, uh, and it's on the cross, as we saw where the sun is at the December solstice, and this is where the sun is at the June solstice. And then by the time we get to the full moon at around 19 Cancer on July 10th, it's very much moving through the twins, the constellation of the twins, and we'll be getting ready to move out of the twins um, in like 6 days, 5 or 6 days from the time of the full moon time. And so basically it's inside the sacred hoop of stars. And we talked about that a lot in our last video as well. So I'll put that video link in the show notes if people want to go back and get those insights and that information. But as the planets are passing through the twins, so we also have Jupiter here. I think Mercury might, I can't remember if Mercury is still in the twins at the time of the full moon. I think it might have left the twins by now. And then, but it's basically a transmission that's available to us, suggesting that we can access even deeper wisdom that transcends the seeming opposites. So I feel like the twins, so some would say Castor and Pollux, that's the Greek version of the twins, but the twins could be masculine and feminine. In many cultures, their mythic stories of the twins are brother and sister, not
Mhm.
two brothers. It could be two sisters too, for that matter. But anyway, but if we think about
Right.
opposites, opposites like good and evil, light and dark, right and wrong, strong and weak, happy and sad, wholeness and separation, giving and receiving, this can lead to the experience of polarization. And we can see a lot of polarization happening in our world at this time. So, how are we moving beyond the polarization? This is right and this is wrong. You're not seeing it correctly, or you should be seeing it this way, or you're not seeing it my way, so it's not the right way. So how are we moving beyond that? And I think this is an opportunity at this full moon to see that. So transcending or uniting these opposites, the sun is going to help with that at this full moon. And it's supporting the manifest realization of the divine plan in our reality. Some might say unity consciousness. So we could actually have this as part of our intention and part of what we're tuning into during this full moon. And just again, the sun is in the twins until July 20th. So I guess it's like 10 more days inside the twins. And then Jupiter will be inside the twins until 2026, and Venus will enter the twins around July 30th. So planets are constantly passing through this part of the sky and giving us an opportunity to work on how we might feel polarized within ourselves or polarized with each other or the polarization of the world. And how do we unite that and bring it back together?
Yeah, and also at the same time, Mars was with the twins for a while too. So it's
Earlier,
something we can, right. What were you saying?
I said earlier this year, Mars was
Earlier
in
this year, yeah.
for a long time. Yes,
And even part of last year as well, 2024. So there's been a lot of activation of this area of the sky, as Cayelin is sharing, and Jupiter is doing some more work in that area for us, along with the sun now at this time as well.
beautiful.
Um, yes.
I love it.
Okay.
The Dalai
Why don't
Lama
you?
says
Yes.
that telling us know the rules well so you can break them effectively. It's just very kind of playful. And as Eric and I were talking about this before, sort of it seems like a Gemini thing, but for the out of bounds full moon, this is very much a statement. It's like, okay, I need to know the rules so I know what I'm doing when I effectively am breaking them so I can create something new and better and more sustainable that works. So this is the wisdom about going beyond any limited, outdated rules that keep us from being our true selves and that keep us limited in being able to create a reality that works for everyone and not just a few.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's a powerful quote. There's another quote that we're gonna share too here in a few moments. Actually, a couple more. We got a couple more. But this is one of the better ones.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so this we showed did we shared a similar graphic in the last full moon video, right?
Yes.
With the
Yes.
full moon. Yeah. So yeah, you can see here like the full moon was the day before the full moon was more out of bounds. But shamanically speaking, the the moon looks full for at least 3 days. So it's even though it's not exactly to the minute or to the hour, it's really out of bounds for much of that time.
Yeah, it really goes out of bounds on this July 6th and doesn't come back into the bounds until July 11th. So it's several days out of bounds. And so if we're thinking about how this is going beyond the boundaries of the ordinary and illuminating the extraordinary because it's a full moon, and also in the 19-year lunar standstill, when this happens, it's there's amazing things happening with the moon, and the full moon in July in Callanish Scotland is when the moon walks the land. And there was a saying they had there, when the moon walks the land at the calling of the cuckoo, the great shining ones will return. And we are the shining ones. We are returning. We're remembering. We're waking up. We're having a great remembering of this time. So this is a
Mhm.
powerful full moon for. I mean, any Capricorn full moon is going to be an amazing full moon, but this is like adding to the intensity of the power of what's available to us at this time.
Yeah, I fully agree. We're the ones that we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now we get to look a little deeper into the chart of the full moon here. Um, Caitlin, do you want to start
Yeah.
us?
Well, basically, this is illuminating wisdom from beyond our reality because of the way the full moon is activating. And something that I found amazing was that Venus is at where the Gemini new moon was um, at the new moon in June, and
Oh, that's right.
where Venus in May, it was the new moon in May, and it's within
Right.
3 degrees of the star Aldebaran, one of the four royal stars and the magical stars of the ancient alchemists. So Venus being here at a full moon is a time to work the magic of this star. Plus, Uranus and Sedna are with the Pleiades, and they are also activating, amplifying the magic of the Pleiades as the Bohemian stars, the magical stars. Erik and I did a really great course on that some time back. That's still
Yes.
available if you're interested. I'll put a link in the show notes. And then Chiron and Eris are still really close, and they're widely square the exact full moon. And of course, they'll be exactly square the full moon a few hours later. And then Saturn and Neptune are within 14 minutes of each other. And of course, Neptune just went retrograde on July 4th before the full moon. And Saturn goes retrograde on July 12th, just after the full moon. So
Yeah.
that's so amazing. Like the power of the energies that are present with this full moon is just wow. It's like we really do want to tune in and feel into how this is amplifying and activating what we want to bring into form.
Yeah, the full moon is really really showing up as a beacon for the this really powerful active month of July. And so like connecting in with this full moon could be of immense help for everyone here.
And really, one of the ways to connect in is just if you can see it rising and setting or crossing, going across the sky in the night and just take in the light of the moon. That's a powerful way to be
Mm,
like inspired and activated by the energy available to us at that time.
absolutely. So here's something I was talking about earlier and that relates to the out of bounds moons that we've been talking about. is you can see here, this is a night sky image of about 12 hours before the actual exact full moon, but this is at nighttime, so I chose this moment here. So full moons in June and July, and to sometimes in August as well, tend to hang lower in the sky because it's opposite where the sun is, which is really, really high in the sky, typically. Again, in the northern hemisphere, this is happening. But the farther south you go, you get down to Mexico, Hawaii, and south of there, that moon is going to be super high in the sky, and the sun won't be quite as high as it would be if you were in at 30 degrees north latitude, 40 degrees north latitude, and so forth. So this is all about perspective, but this is from a perspective here captured where I am about 40 degrees, 41 degrees. Oh, wait, hang on. I think it's 41 degrees north latitude here in Southern Oregon. And so this is where I'm going to see the moon is going to be pretty low in the sky. But for somebody down in Maui or in the South Pacific, the moon is way up in the sky. Yours is still going to be fairly low, but at least it's southern enough. You'll be away from the bigger mountains from where you
I'm
are.
around 32 degrees north latitude. So yeah, it'll but it does I can tell you where it rises on the horizon where I am at this time and how it goes across the sky. It's definitely lower than when the sun is going across the sky at this time. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to get that like watch the moon and watch where it's rising and setting and you'll start to get a sense of that and watch the sun where it's rising and setting. So like sun very far north on the horizon at this time of year in the northern hemisphere. Well, it's in the northern hemisphere at opposite season in the southern hemisphere, but it's also north and it goes low for them because of their latitude that you're speaking into. So for them, the moon will be high. For those in the southern hemisphere, the moon will be high in the sky. And for those of us in the northern hemisphere, it's going to tend to be low in the sky.
Yes. Yes.
So it all depends on where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the a time and date calculator. Um, I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to find out. You can put in your city or where you're located and find out when the moon is rising and when it's setting in your location. And you can see that the moon actually from July 10th to 11th, it's rising 41 minutes later on the 11th than it does on the 10th, and about 40 some minutes later from the 9th to the 10th. But in those 3 days, the 9th, 10th, and 11th will be the fullest, the moon will look full, even though the night of the 9th is when it rises fullest and it's starting to wane by the night of the 10th because the full moon's happening midday and then so it's already starting to wane but it's really not noticeable. It's definitely but it's kind of fun to know. And for me, I have mountains in my eastern horizon and so whatever it tells me, so it's like says 7:57 p.m., it'll probably be more like close to 8:30 by the time the moon actually rises. So your horizon line makes a difference in how you see the moon rising. And
Mm,
it's just so spectacular to be able to see the moon come up. If you have a chance, I highly recommend it. I mean, you
mm,
can see it in
mm.
the sky, but there's something about it rising that is just so magical.
Yeah, I've been more, I mean, the moon setting is definitely really amazing too, but the when you see the moon, the full moon rising, it feels like almost like a shock as to how big it is, and it there's just something about it that is of a different quality than the moon set, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to do this one?
Oh, yeah, this is a pretty amazing one. Thank you for including this, Cayelin, in this one. So General Douglas MacArthur, a famous general in American history, he was born with a Mercury and North Node in Capricorn, squared by Saturn. So he had a lot of strong Capricorn energy. And then you've got at the top here Gemini rule breakers, but Capricorn rule makers. But both can sometimes flip in their own ways. So rules are mostly made to be broken or are too often for the lazy to hide behind. This is MacArthur, who famously broke a lot of rules, even in the wars that he led for the U.S. Against Japan. Um, and in the New York Times in 1928, almost 100 years ago, so that'll be 97 years ago in August that he said this. So he says, "You are remembered for the rules you break. I am concerned for the security of our great nation, not so much because of any threat from without, but because of the insidious forces working from within." And it's very apropos to today. I mean, to me, it's plain as day of what's happening. That is what's going on, and particularly in the mega corporations out there that own so much of the world. Um, it's like they make their own rules and they hide behind them, and it's like this is our rules and we're not going to change them and so forth. And so he's somebody that was able to see some of that inside all the mechanisms of the elite of the military industrial complex and everything else in there. So I love this and appreciate you including that.
Yes, thank you, and I love what you just said, and I like that he said you were remembered for the rules you break. Now, sometimes we're breaking the rules. Like I think some people do it for their own benefit and not for the benefit of others. I think he would
Exactly.
do it for the benefit of everyone. It's all what's the intention behind rule breaking? Because sometimes it's like the best thing that could possibly happen for the greater good. And sometimes it's the worst thing that could possibly happen for the greater good. And so what's the intention
Yes.
behind that? And in an out of bounds moon, it's like, okay, so what are we going beyond? What old rules are we going beyond at this time? That could be beneficial to the greater reality that we're in. And so anyway, I love that he had such a strong Capricornian sense, and it reminds me of in the oh God, the movie The Pirate. Trying to think of the name right now. Whatever.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, thank you. They said not really rules, more like guidelines. Because they were constantly breaking the rules, and he's like, yeah, not really rules, more like guidelines. So maybe if we could get to a place where we have guidelines, because guidelines can be helpful, but also you're not having to be stuck in certain rules, and if you're more in place of guidelines that like, okay, but now we can move beyond this into a new place. So anyway, I think that's just one of the opportunities of this full moon.
Yeah, I fully agree. Because if you get too many rules that end up strangulating communities and people and culture, like are these rules helpful anymore? I don't think so.
And it's nice to have people that were thinking about those things. So,
Yes.
okay, so Dr. Martin Luther King, whose birthday is January 15th of 1929. So he was born just after Douglas MacArthur was saying these things, but he was also tending to buck the rules or the ways that things were doing, and he basically said, power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. Ah, so good because it's all about the
Hmm.
love. And if we think about
It
this,
is.
yeah, it's all about the love. And so I feel like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was very visionary. So he was a Capricorn, but he must have probably had some Aquarian or some other energies going on. I don't remember his chart right now, but uh, and the idea of the Capricorn full moon is that it's illuminating practical elder wisdom that's helping to heal the wounds of unjust rules. And Chiron and Eris being connected to this moon is helping to do that as well. It's like there's old unjust rules that just need to go. They're not there, as you were saying, the corporations and all the different factions that are benefiting from this, but other people are suffering. And
Yeah.
Ideally, we have a way for everyone to be benefited and no one to suffer. That would be my vision for how it should do.
Yes. And yeah, I feel like in the what's her name's book, The Chalice and the Blade, where at one time
Again,
in
I'm
history yes, we that many thousands of years ago, we did have a society that was in their quote golden age. It was partnership based and it was a more um it wasn't high, it was a non-hierarchical type of society. And so everyone got to benefit from it. Of course, someone could choose not to live in that kind of society. That's fine, but it was
that
there,
would be their
and
choice.
it was their choice. They had the free will to choose that that's what they wanted to do. But later it degraded over time as new factions rose, and it became more later on the dominator hierarchical patriarchal type society started coming around. It took thousands of years, but they eventually asserted themselves in a near total a takeover of the planet.
And that seems to be collapsing now. I don't think it's sustainable. It's not sustainable for the planet or for the people. So it feels like that's collapsing at this time. And it's really, to me, about restoring cosmic justice while we're also exploring new guidelines, as we're talking about, based in love, as Dr. Martin Luther King talks about, and going beyond the ordinary into the extraordinary because of this out of bounds moon. So the archetypal energy knows how spirit manifests into form. This is the energy. This is Capricorn is the archetypal energy that knows how this happens, knows how to bring spirit into manifest form and how to efficiently, effectively, and responsibly tend to these new forms for of manifestation for the benefit of the generations to come. And that's what we really are wanting to call forth and bring forth at this time is the wisdom that is connected to that.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Okay, here's the Archer constellation. There's two slides for this. So it's a you can see it here in the form of a centaur, and that's where the full moon is right here. Originally, this was just a human figure holding a bow, an arrow. And later on, it took on the image of a centaur as the constellation Centaurus began to sink lower in the southern sky for most of the human population. So it didn't really rise up very much, especially for the Mediterranean and the Middle Eastern peoples. Um, and so that has to do with the wobble of the Earth called the precession of the equinox. So that's a whole different subject, but this constellation stood out more in that way. So like they were able to see some semblance of a centaur there, and so they projected it onto that. And Centaurus, is still a constellation. We can still see it if we go down to the southern portions of the southern, not well, the southern hemisphere, but
A
also
bit of it where
the
I'm at.
southern part of the northern hemisphere where you
Yes.
are, and Hawaii and Mexico and other places around there, the Caribbean, Florida, around there, parts of Africa. Well, we could go on, but yes, you can still see it there. But it's just kind of a little bit of a history about this. We actually, Cayelin and I did the whole 12 zodiacal constellation series. And so if you want to know more about that, tune into that on mystaralchemy.com, and you can find out a lot more details. But I'll share a little bit more here. And Cam, thank you for including some of this here with well, not just the image of the centaur, but and some of the connections here. So there's a star called Nunki, which is near where the full moon takes place. Or I'm sorry, wait, is this where the no full moon is a
It's over there
little
a little more. Yeah. So
it's over here a little more, but it's roughly in that zone. It's the only star that still has its original name from ancient Mesopotamia, Nunki, Nunki. So if you ever, and that's right around the shoulder, upper arm, and some describe it as where the vein of the arrow is, because if you see an archer pulling back, and the vein of the arrow is essentially right by the arm and the shoulder. So it's right in that zone. And so they, at one time, they did see the archer as the home of the god Nurgle, masculine king warrior god, and also related to the planet Mars, the current planet Mars. And in ancient China, it was also a tiger, and at one time part of a larger constellation called the Azure Dragon. So depending on what culture you go to, you can, they could have a different type of thing. And so I've highlighted here in white, that's representative of the bow. And then the one that goes perpendicular to that, that's the arrow here. Now, this is famous for the teapot image. So if you see the teapot, then you see kind of the front and top of the teapot, if you will. Then you'll kind of make out this recurve bow here, and the arrow that's pointed to the galactic center. So that's they're always the arrows are always going to be somewhat pointed to the galactic center. It's not perfectly pointed to it, but it's pretty close.
And
So
when
there's something about that. Go ahead.
I discovered Galactic Center in the 1950s, it was they were astounded. Astronomers were astounded that the archer's arrow had been pointing towards Galactic Center the whole entire time. Like, oh, this is, it's like when you find the treasure where, this is the spot, this is the place. It's like there was something
X
point,
marks the spot.
there's something was pointing to that all along. It was always there. We just didn't know. So that's pretty
There
cool.
you go. Yeah, yeah. And really like the galactic center, even though it's the specific spot, this whole area of the sky is the galactic bulge, and that's where the air all the a lot of the mass of the galaxy is all swirling around. And so it just so happens that that's where the galactic center is, and that's where everything's kind of swirling
A
around.
lot of
So when
energy
it's
is emanating from that part of the sky, as again we talked about in the last video. So check
right.
out and you can find that video for more about that.
All right. Now
So
we move
the
on to the nakshatra.
nakshatra, yeah. So the nakshatras are about 13 degrees ish, covering the sky. So this is where this nakshatra is covering, and it's called Purva Ashada, and it's from 7 Capricorn to 20 Capricorn. And I use the seasonal sign energy because they would say uh, the Vedic astrologers will say it's in Sagittarius because that's the name that they have for the constellation. But that's too confusing. So we'll just use the seasonal signs and people can figure it out if they have planets, angles, or nodes in that part of the sky. And this is a nakshatra that overlays the archer, including the star Nunki that we just talked about, and
Hmm.
is known for being joyous and optimistic, delighting in beauty, resembling the seashell Venus, the symbol that you see up in the corner, resembling the seashell Venus is on as she emerges from the waters of life. So that's some of the ways you can look at that, or it could be seen as a fan or as used as a fan to keep passion alive, fanning the fire, and to cool off, and as a decorative item, or to hide one's face to retain mystery. So that imagery, that symbol, those are some of the things that it can be connected to this nakshatra. And then the some of the keywords: faithful, influencers, ability to invigorate, energize, and empower others. So if you have planets, angles, or nodes in this area of the sky, you may have some of these qualities that are all in addition to whatever else you might feel into. And the name Purva Ashada means early victory or undefeated. I like that, but I don't know. Uh, it might be that there that it doesn't always work out that way. Just saying. So the symbols are the elephant, the tusk, the fan, the monkey, the invincible star. The goddess is Apa and the god is Varuna, and both are connected to water. So these are just some additional energies to just be aware of as we tune into where this full moon is, as it's getting ready to actually move out of this nakshatra. About 4 hours later, it moves out of this nakshatra into the next.
That's right. Yeah. And so I've got my natal ascendant, my rising sign in this nakshatra. And so the full moon is only about 4.5 degrees from my ascendant. So it's definitely on a personal level, it's definitely a moon that is going to be impactful in my own life. And so I'll be paying attention at that time. I don't think I'll be traveling. I'll be home, so I'll be out there uh
Checking out the
scoping
moonrise.
scoping out the moonrise. What?
I said checking out the moonrise, but you said scoping out. So, we were similar.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you've got, this is a great time. Like for people, I know, Cayelin, your Mars position's a little
It's
bit
at
outside of
three,
this.
it's at 3 degrees, so it's in the earlier nakshatra.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, just
So, but if anybody's got any planets in Capricorn between 7 and 20, but also around like near where the moon is going to be, also in if you have it in Cancer or in Libra or Aries, you're going to be this can be a personal full moon for you, and you want to pay attention and connect with that full moon for your own journey as well.
yep.
All right, that leads us to the Sabian symbol of the Capricorn full moon. Um, and we always add one to from the degrees of the symbol. So it's 1850 Cap. So we move it to 19 degrees. So the symbol is a child of about five carrying a huge shopping bag filled with groceries. So the key words include being the one everyone counts on to do the job, feeling weighed down, having to carry the bag, lifting heavy weights and bearing the consequences, taking on things above and beyond what one should, acting like the grown-up, maturing quickly, looking after paperwork, running errands, providing food for sustenance for everyone. This is from the Sabian Oracle, Linda Hill, in her book, The Sabian Oracle. So interpretation of this can be about the burdens we bear. Now, I talked a lot about this in earlier slides. So the Sabian symbol is confirming, it's connecting into those other topics around self-worth, around guilt, and how much of a burden we're carrying, and the whole Sisyphus imagery too. So are we doing too much? Are we taking on too much? Are we also repressing our inner youth or otherwise disconnecting from it? This is also about the route we take through life and the baggage that comes along with us. So, do we allow it to control our decisions? It is an opportunity to reflect upon the work and the obligations we have. So, hey, are we repressing ourselves? Are we not allowing ourselves some time to have fun, to balance out all the weight, the 50-pound backpack that we're carrying around with us everywhere?
I love this image of this very young boy carrying the big bag of clothes.
It's almost as big as he is, or
Oh, it
at least
is.
a little bit more. He's a strong lad.
Yep.
All right. So, Caitlin, do you want me to talk about this
One's yours
or
and I've got the next one.
okay. So this is a really an excellent time to honor our grandmothers and grandfathers, the wise elders, the ones who remember our origins and the path we set out upon eons ago. This illuminates the ancient records and the record keepers, the ones who know what decisions will benefit the current and future generations. The waning Aquarius moon, um, about 21 hours after the exact full moon, is passed by Pluto at 3 degrees Aquarius, illuminating any remaining shadow, bringing to light all the issues that have prevented the full empowerment of this great turning of the wheel of time. So it really is, we can even say the Akashic records, it really goes into the deeper level wisdom and knowledge from uh, you know, our grandmothers and grandfathers, but also those that came before them and came before them, 7 generations, 100 generations. This is a chance to kind of connect into that wisdom and knowledge and see how we can apply it to our current life today.
In wise ways.
Yes,
Really applying it to
wise
now.
and healthy ways.
Yes, yes, love that. So we're going to end this with a prayer to the wise elders as a way to really energize the possibilities of this full moon. So if you want to tune in, you want to settle down, you want to put your hand on your heart or your belly, or just allow yourself to be present as we complete this. Wise ones, kind and loving ones, you who know the ways of love, the ways of peace, the ways of cooperation, collaboration, and conscious co creation, the ways of health and well being that vibrate with love, the ways of duality within great mystery, the ways of light and dark and the gifts of each, the ways of magic and alchemy, the ways of time, creating new, wise, sustainable timelines, the ways of inspired action, creating more love, more joy, more aliveness than we ever thought possible. Sacred sages, thank you for guiding us to learn these wise ways so that we bring forth the new earth within us, benefiting all life everywhere. With gratitude, it is done, it is so, and so it is. Blessed be.
Mm, blessed be.
Happy Capricorn full moon, everyone.
Happy Capricorn full moon. We look forward to seeing you again in the future, and we wish you well on this great journey.
Indeed. Yay.